What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Rebalanced podcast. My name is Robbie Cassidy, and on this episode of the podcast, we're going to look at 3 different ways you can spice up your mornings or bring more energy into your morning. The reason I want to go into this podcast or look at this side of the podcast is because often there's people have morning routines, they may have evening routines, training routines, but I want to give you maybe 1 or 2 things that you might not be doing right now, and I want you to just try them out, see how you get on with them, and see if they have an effect on your morning and then on your day after that. I think I'm a big believer in if you start the morning right, your day generally falls into place after, while if you start the morning slow or kind of lackadaisical, a lot of the time you'll find that that leaks over into your day as well. So these are a few things that I've been trying out the last while, and some of them you may know. Some of them are new enough to me, and maybe to you too, hopefully to you too. And basically, I want you to just try them, see how you get on with them, and see if they work into your lifestyle. Because as with anything, not everything works for everybody. So having a couple of things you can fall back on is always good. And I guess trying new things, seeing what you like, seeing what you enjoy, and then over time, starting to incorporate that into your routine. So to jump straight into the podcast, one of the first things that I've really started to incorporate more into my mornings and just in my day in general, especially as I'm going to sit down and do some work or if I'm going to go training, is this idea of Qi-gong. Now, Qi-gong, as I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, is a technique I've taken from Chinese medicine, and it's something that crops up everywhere. It's not just in the medical side of things, it's even in the life, even into the lifestyle, the way they live, and it's over 5,000 years old, so it's obviously an ancient practice. And when I was looking into it or when I was researching it, I was finding, because you always hear the word chi, like your chi and your life energy, and I suppose basically when I was digging into it a small bit deeper, I found out that the chi side of things is your life force energy, and then the gong side of things is to work with or to develop a skill. So you have, let's say, medical Qi-gong, you have spiritual Qi-gong, and you also have martial arts Qi-gong. And for each of them, they focus focus is a small bit different. So for medical Qi-gong, a lot of times it's working with energy for health, wellness, and vitality. And when we're looking at life force energy, a lot of the time it is vitality, one of the main components of main things, benefits that you'll get out of it. You will feel like you have so much more energy. You'll just feel like there's a pep in your step, and that's what I've gotten from this Qigong. This is something that I've really noticed, is that when you do practice it, even for a minute or two, you start to get more of a pep in your step, for lack of a better way of describing it. Now, for the medical, as I said, it's working with energy, health, wellness, and vitality. For the spiritual Qigong, it's more focused around feeling connection to the divine, becoming more conscious, so meditation, consciousness kind of working in the mind and spirit. With martial arts Qigong, then it's more about developing a powerful body or a robust body. Now, many of you who are listening to this now may have heard of Tai Chi, the ancient practice. Well, Tai Chi is a form of Qigong, because there's over 3,000 different forms of Qigong and different practices. So there's loads of different ways. And I think when I was really diving into it more, I saw a practitioner who was talking about it, and he was saying that to say that a certain school practices Qigong is probably wrong, because everything you do is about Qi. So it's more that you have, like, a lot of the schools have their own disciplines and their own specific practices that they go over. But in this side of things, I want to just highlight the idea of Qigong, as well as how you can include it into your day, as well as, I suppose, how I'm working it into my day more. Now, with the martial arts Qigong, you probably would have heard of Bruce Lee, who talks about moving like water. And that's actually one of the main principles of martial arts Qigong, is that it is about moving like water. You're moving from your center. So if you look at people who are doing Tai Chi, a lot of the time they're moving into like a flowing state. It really looks like they're flowing and they're transitioning very effortlessly from position to position. And that's one of the main parts of it, is making sure that you are able to do that. And the idea is to cultivate energy for health, vitality, as well as this internal power. So to not get too much on the kind of the spiritual side of it, or that I want to talk more about the benefits of it and what you can get from it, because it's something that you can do right now, whether you are in the car or if you are just around your house, and you maybe, if you're working, wherever you are at the moment, it's something that you can start to include more, because as I said, you will feel a lot more alive. You notice an energy build up. There's nearly like a palpable energy that you can feel. Sometimes you get this tingling sensation, but that feeling of vitality and I guess groundedness is huge in it. And that's why I started doing it more, as well as when I do it right before I go into doing a bit of work, it always kicks it off that bit better. So I always feel that bit sharper going into work after it. Or if I'm going into training, or I've been doing it recently before I've been going for swims in the morning. So the way I was doing it, now this is going to be the most basic form of it, because as I said, I'm by no means a master of it, but the goal is to kind of move with the relaxation, and you're thinking about moving energy through the body. If anyone wants to get like a really long one or a longer one, there's like a 10 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute versions that you can just pull up on YouTube from actual masters, people who are very knowledgeable in the subject. But the one that I do, actually how I was introduced to it, was something that I'm sure a lot of you do anyway before you compete or before you go to a training session. And it's the position of, if you ever look at like a boxer before they go into the ring, where they're kind of jumping on the spot, jumping left to right, and they're moving their arms and their legs. Very, just kind of rhythmically, nothing crazy, just keep, like nearly like you're warming up for something, like you're warming up for a run. Right before you go for a run, often you'll do it. You'll see people in the front line of a marathon, they're not just going to be stood steady, they're kind of going to be bouncing around. And that is as simple as it is. That's as simple as the practice of what I do, is that let's say if I've done a load of calls and I'm just feeling tired after it, I'll just get up, walk around, and then I'll start to come into this. And I only do it for maybe a minute to a minute and a half, where I just bounce and take deep inhales, and long exhales. And just continuing that as you're bouncing on the spot. And if anyone has the chance right now that you're standing up, I want you to try it. Just for 30 seconds to a minute, as I'm talking through this podcast, I want you to keep doing that. So keep inhaling and exhaling. Nice deep inhales and nice long exhales while you're bouncing on the spot. And when you stop, I want you to notice how you feel. That's what they describe as your Qi, is that you feel that bit more alive. You can feel like there's an energy build up. You do nearly get this tingling sensation. And if we can do that before, like I do it in the morning, before I go down and go for a swim, when I come back, before I sit down for work, I've been doing it a small bit more. And when I come back from lunch, there 3 or 4 times that I just take that minute to kind of bounce on the spot, shake out the hands, shake out the legs, and focus on inhaling deeply and exhaling deeply. So if you haven't already, that'd be something that I would try out. I want you to give it a go and see how you get on, and get back to me then if you found it beneficial. The next one is something that I haven't talked a lot about recently, but it's something that I have started doing more recently. And I did actually talk about it a small bit in my last podcast with Leo Ryan. But it's the idea of deliberate cold exposure. Now, deliberate cold exposure can be anything from jumping in a cold shower to going for a swim in the sea to dipping in a lake, or even having a cold water bath outside it. Now, there is other forms that you can do, like literally going out in a pair of shorts and t-shirt if you are in a very cold climate and just staying around, but you just need to be out in it for a bit longer. There's obviously that side of it, and the goal of it is to get yourself into a place that you are uncomfortably cold. And really that's all it is. That's the basis of it. But it's voluntarily. It's something that you actually deliberately do yourself, as opposed to just being in a cold environment and not meaning to do it. This is another way that I've noticed that it really, really lifts your energy for the rest of the day if it's done right. And that feeling of groundedness, clear-headedness, vitality, all comes with it. It really wakes up the senses. So if anyone does have the opportunity, now when I say it, I know a lot of people listen to this will be like, oh, it's not something that might be for you, or you might not be interested in it. I would still say, if possible, to try do it just once a week. It doesn't mean that you have to do it every single morning, but if you can do it once a week, and then you are more conscious of how you feel for the rest of the day after, you will slowly but surely notice that it actually has quite a positive effect on your life. For me, it nearly sets the day that if I can get up, I'll do my bit of Qi-gong, and then I'll go down and dip in the Turlock, which I was down there this morning, and it was absolutely freezing. We were breaking the ice to get into it. It was nipping cold, but when I got in there, and once I came back to the breathing side of things, and I calmed down, I came out and I did the movements to try warm back up, came back up to the house, jumped in the sauna and had a shower, then you're set up for the day. Like, you really are. You feel so much better for the time after that. And it is an uncomfortable time that you're in there, no question. Like, I don't think anyone's going to go out and say that they love going down and, like, in the moment having to go in and be nice and warm and then have to go into this freezing cold lake or sea or ice bath. I don't think anyone particularly enjoys that aspect of it, but the benefits of it afterwards really is where the effect is. And I think that's what, if we can start to focus on that, and like, you're paying it off in the long term as opposed to the short term, it's like a delayed gratification. That idea is excellent. Like that itself is such a good marker for the day afterwards. For me, anyway, that's what I've started to notice. Now, I have done it on and off at times, and I'm back into it now, but I'm actually heading away this weekend, so I won't be able to do it here anymore, but I will find another place to get in cold baths and saunas, because I usually am pretty consistent with it. But for anyone who hasn't tried it, I want you just to try it one day a week. That's all. Even if it's just turning, after your shower, turn it down to cold, or before your hot shower, turn it down to cold, and lasting 30 seconds in there. It doesn't have to be for long. And to get a lot of there's so many benefits associated with deliberate cold exposure, you'd be surprised. You don't even have to spend that long. 11 minutes per week is actually enough. So that means that you can spend 2 to 3 minutes at a time and build that up over the week. But the benefits associated with it, you'd be surprised. So there's a 2.5 times increase in dopamine. You will, because of that, then you'll feel a lot more mentally clear and alert. You'll have a better mood. It increases your metabolism, and it helps to build resilience. So just 3 of the benefits that come along with cold exposure, or deliberate cold exposure, as well as the fact that if you live in a cold climate in general, you'll be more comfortable with walking around in the cold temperature. So there's loads to it, but if we can just figure out how we can start to enjoy the process of doing it, because generally you don't really enjoy the actual cold exposure. And I think everyone has to understand that the going in, and once you get the initial shock, it's not too bad after that. But every time the initial shock it still shakes you. And getting over that, you'll find that you'll have a lot more resilience, you'll have a lot more control, and a lot more discipline, because you're able to overcome that friction. There's a reason that the Navy SEALs, when they're testing them in Hell Week, that they get them into cold water, to try sit in cold water. There's a reason that they do that. And it is to test their resilience, because I think resilience and discipline are huge components of a productive and healthy way of living. And if we can do that more with, let's say, deliberately put ourselves through tougher times, in the end, or at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, you'll have a better standard of living and a higher quality of life. So with deliberate cold exposure, as I was saying, cold shower, sea swimming, lake dipping, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you just try get in there, force yourself to get in there in certain situations or in times that you don't want to, and I'm telling you, you will see a benefit from it. You can trust that you will see a benefit from it. Now, the last one is one that I am on and off, but when I do it, I notice straight away, or I notice for the rest of the day, that it's always like an anchor, something I can come back to. And the last one is actually just setting an intention for the day in the morning time. So when you get up, and let's say you do your Qi-gong, then you can set your intention for the day, or you do your cold exposure. Some people go up and they might do journaling, or they might do reflection, or they might just go straight up, make their cup of coffee, and make breakfast. But if you set an intention for that day, for the rest of the day, so the intention doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be just something that you want to be focused on. It can be a specific task, it can be a feeling, or it can be a value. But having it in the back of your mind can help direct your day, especially if you know what type of a day it's going to be. Let's say if you have a lot of meetings and work, or you have a lot of places to be, or you know that you're under pressure to get something done. Having an intention that you set out in the morning, and then trying to keep yourself accountable as well as being disciplined to sticking to that intention, you'll find at the end of the day, you'll be a lot better off from it. And what I mean is that if you say, okay, today I'm going to be a lot more patient, set the intention of being patient. When you're going to work and you're a bit late and you're stuck in traffic, you can remind yourself that, okay, because you do have two options. You can start getting really angry and really pissed off in traffic. You have that option, and you can choose to exercise that emotion if you want to. But you also have the exact same option of keeping yourself nice and calm and relaxed. And I think people forget about that, is that it's you that's picking the emotion that you put out in a lot of cases. Like, if you let it overwhelm you, then it's harder to control it. But if you've already set the intention that you're going to be more patient, when that rolls around, you're going to be more conscious, and then you will hopefully lean towards the patience side of things a bit more. There's other things. It could be like, you could use commitment. I'm going to be committed to the work that I'm doing today. It could be spend less. It could be, I want to try something new today. I haven't done anything new this week yet. For today, I want to make sure that whatever it is, I try something new. And you'll be very surprised what crops up as the day goes on. It could be that I want to be more consistent, more mindful, more conscious. I want to be more energetic. Maybe you want to laugh more for the day. Or maybe you intend to do something fun for that day. Or you could be grateful for the small things. So there's loads and loads and loads and loads of ways that you can set intentions for the day. I actually have basically a card for it with different intentions that you can set for the day. And I'll try get that into the show notes for this one, so you can just scroll down and click into it. But if you start to do these things, if you just start to set an intention for the day, you'll be very surprised how much that will dictate your day, because it will be coming into your head consistently. You'll often just fall back on it and remember, okay, right, I remember I want to be patient today. I remember I decided that I was going to laugh more today. I remember that I said I was going to be more grateful for the small things. So when you go to make a coffee and there's 1 spoon of sugar left, you're grateful that there's 1 spoon of sugar left, as opposed to not being pissed off that you're out of sugar. Okay, so there's loads of different areas that you can look at it and ways that you can incorporate it into your life. But just by being more conscious of it, you can make your day so much better. And I think it's a great way to spice up your morning, is to set an intention. How do you enhance the power of it? What you would do is, I would say to people, is if you find it difficult, if you've tried it a couple of times and you're just saying it doesn't work for me, it could just be write it down on a piece of paper. Write it down somewhere and stick it up on the wall in front of you where you're working, or stick it on your laptop. But you really need to focus when you're setting it, that you're not just throwing out 10 intentions. It's nice to have maybe 1 or 2 for the day. The other thing is, know why you're doing it. Is there a reason that you decided to be that or do it that way? And as well as know where you can put it in place. So if you're in work and there's someone pissing you off all day long, you can just say, okay, well, I decided to be more patient. So with this person in this situation, I'm going to exercise that. I'm going to try to be more patient. Okay. So there is different ways you can do it. You can do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, if you wanted to. If you could say, okay, for this week, I'm going to focus on laughing more. So every day you're looking for those small situations where you can laugh more. But I know it sounds like it's like that's such a small thing that you can do, but it does have quite an effect in your life, and it does make you more conscious of how you are in different situations. And if you can become more conscious of that, you can change it. Because if we can just incorporate these small habits in and around our lifestyle, you'll find it will have a huge effect on your days, on your weeks, and at the end of the year, when you're doing your reflections at the end of next year, or end of this year, I should say, you'll say, oh yeah, well, I actually did laugh a lot more this year. I was a lot more conscious this year. I was a lot more energetic. I was grateful for the small things around me. And I know the end of the year seems a long way away, but it will come around soon, and it'll be nice to, when you reflect on the year, notice that you made small changes to your life for the better. And this is a very small one that you can do. So what are the benefits of it? As I said, it's like you can have a clearer head. You kind of know what way you want to spend the day. It's good when you have a lot of things to do, because you can always, as I said, it's like an anchor. It anchors you back to the way, okay, right, I know I'm bogged down with a lot of things, but I said I was going to be more grateful for the small things, or I said I was going to laugh more today. If you feel like you are disconnected from everything and you're just going through the motions, it's a nice way of kind of reconnecting. Your mind feels like it's that bit more streamlined, because it feels like you can think a lot clearer. And as I said, it just makes you that bit more conscious of how you are in different situations. I would really push people to try to be more self-aware and try and be more conscious. It's something that I'm trying to work on myself, and to notice why I react in certain ways to certain things, and to dig deeper and try to figure that out. Because if you can, then you can make that change. And as I said, you'll notice that it'll come through in your life. You'll be a lot more settled, a lot more grounded in your life afterwards, because you're more conscious of how different things affect you. You'll avoid things that affect you negatively. You'll lean on things that will affect you and make you more positive. But without becoming more aware of it, it's very hard to do that. So that is all I'm going to talk about today. And I hope that you were able to take from this podcast. These are just 3 ways that I'm trying to spice up my morning more now. 3 things that I've been working on, and things that I think will have a huge effect on your life if you start to do it consistently. So the first one was the Qi-gong, and the way I practice that is once I get up out of bed, I move around a small bit, and then I start basically like you're getting ready to run a marathon, or you are getting ready to jump in the ring. That movement where you're just hopping from toe to toe, shaking out your arms, shaking out your legs, and at the same time, deep inhales and long exhales. Nice and relaxed, and keeping it going for like a minute or a minute and a half. And if you haven't already, I would try it right now. It's surprisingly effective to get everything kind of going and feeling that bit more energetic. I'm actually doing it here in the seat right now as I'm recording this. The other one is deliberate cold exposure, where you're putting yourself into a situation that you are uncomfortably cold. It doesn't have to be for long, 2 or 3 minutes at a time. And you can do it through cold showers, sea swimming, lake dipping. But as I said, it improves dopamine, it increases your testosterone, and it helps to build resilience. And all things that I think we would all benefit from if we had more of that in our life. The last one then was setting intentions for the day. And I would say making sure that you're keeping focus on a specific task, feeling, or value. Make sure to either write it down or know why you're doing it, or know where you're going to put it in place. And if you do, you will just feel like a lot more streamlined. You'll have something that will anchor you, something that you can connect to throughout the day. And what I will do is, as I said, I have a card made up that you can just basically go into the show notes here, click the link, and it will be a couple of different intentions that you can use and why you would use them. And you can just have it on your phone. So each day you pick a different one, because at least then you'll have something easy to rely on. And if you want to start putting things in place, it's a very simple way of doing it. But that is all from me, guys and girls. I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. If you don't mind, I would love if you could share this podcast to somebody who you think would be interested in. As with anything, accountability is a great way of building a new habit. And with these type of habits, as they're so simple, it's nice to have an accountability partner. So sending it to someone else who you think would be interested in it as well, and both of you trying them out, coming back and meeting each other and talking about it after and see how it works and seeing what little changes you made to it is a great way of doing that. So I would recommend, if you do know someone who'd be interested in, just send this podcast to them and see if you can build a bit of a consistency in that habit. Otherwise, I would absolutely love if you could subscribe to the podcast and rate it on Spotify, iTunes, or even leave a comment on iTunes. That'd be great. Or most importantly, the best way of getting it out, I suppose, to promote it is through word of mouth. So if you could share it on your story if you found it interesting, or even just write to me and let me know what you thought of it, that'd be just as good. But yeah, love to spread the podcast a bit more. Would love to get it out there to more people, because it always kind of, people write to me then and we talk about it, and then I can decide on what topics are more interesting for you or what topics you would like covered. But that's all from me today. I hope everyone else is doing well and healthy. Make sure to check the show notes and get that intention sheet for this week. And I will chat to you all again soon. Have a good one.